Hi guys, am I audible? Guys, can I very quickly see your yes or no's? Am I audible? Those of you can hear me, please type it out. Hello. Sir, मैं class ले रहा हूँ 6 to 7 live stream. Anything urgent? I'll speak to you. Bye. Yeah, I'm taking a class. Don't disturb me. Okay, come after the class. Okay. Good boy. Right guys, so I think it's time we can start off now. Good evening to all of you. The session today is going to be about GRE. Basically, I'll be taking you through GRE as an exam. In fact, who should write, why should they write this exam, what are the top destinations, top countries that they can go to, what are the famous courses in these countries. And then we'll also switch to the exam per se. How should you prepare? What is the pattern of the exam? Right? So this is what we're going to have. It's going to be a 1 hour session. And please listen to me for the first 45 minutes or so. And the last 15 minutes can be opened up for questions and answers. Clear guys? Alright. So let's start talking about why should anybody first of all go abroad. Forget about GRE. Let's try to look at why are people or why should a person go abroad for higher education. Now I have listed out some of the reasons over here, and I'll discuss very briefly about each one of these reasons. The first reason, of course, being the choice of course. Now when you're talking about courses abroad and you're not restricting yourself to a single country. You have Canada, you have US, you have Europe, in fact the whole European Union, you have Australia down south, you have a multitude of places that you can go, and the topic, whichever area that you want to excel in, you have a very broad spectrum of things to choose from. When you're restricting yourself to a country, no doubt there are really good institutes in our country too. However, the number of courses that are offered for each one of the interesting areas for you are very less. For example, you have a lot of importance given to medicine, and right now over in India it's engineering. But again, in engineering, not all streams of engineering is famous in all the colleges. Of course, computer science became famous, your electrical engineering, mechanical engineering became famous, but things like aeronautical engineering or material physics, things like that have not become really famous in many of our courses in many of the colleges that in our country. Right? Aeronautics is again good in few IITs, but not existing in all the places. So what I'm trying to say here is not just for engineering, anything for if you're looking at the number of opportunities to choose from or the number of institutes and the courses to choose from is going to be a lot more once you look at the whole world per se. Right? That's obviously one of the most important reasons why anybody should be looking abroad. In India, think about it, law, if you can get into, so law is now picking up steam for the last few years. So, but if you don't get into any of the top 8 or 10 universities in the country, then your law degree is of not too much of a use anyway, right? So you are again restricting yourself to a lesser number of colleges and a lesser number of seats. You don't get here, there's no point in doing a degree from any third rated college anyway. Engineering slightly better. There are a lot of good engineering colleges, no doubt about it. But once again, if you're looking at MBA is still better. We have a long list of colleges where the number of, in fact, the number of colleges that you can apply to within India is itself decent. But it's not the case in all the streams. That's what I'm trying to talk about. The second is universities ranking. They are highly ranked universities. In fact, if you're looking at the top 100 of technology-based universities or top 100 based on management-based universities, there are very few Indian universities in the world. In fact, in management, there are only 3 universities or 4 universities that are featuring in the top 100 across the world. In technology, I think it's even less, probably about 2 or 3 are the only universities which are there within the top 100 across the world. So, if you're talking about ranking wise, you have the best universities outside the country. And the reason why they are is the third point which I've mentioned. Why are these universities very, very highly rated abroad? What is lacking in our Indian universities? Which is something which all of your professors would have spoken to you one point of the time or the other. One of the most important reasons why the universities in India do not feature well is lack of research. We are more or less theory oriented, right? We are the kind of people who have a set of theory given to us. We learn the theory very well and probably don't have a way or a avenue to take the theory forward, right? So research is very, very imperative for somebody who's going for a master's degree, because bachelor's is where, bachelor's meaning your 4 years or a 3 years degree. By the way, guys, I'm not talking about technology alone. It's in general true for any stream. Without research, your knowledge will be limited. And to get into the cutting edge research, you need to have the kind of institutes which are focused on such. Unfortunately, not many Indian universities do the kind of research that is done probably in an institute like an MIT or probably in an institute like Stanford. The kind of universities that I'm talking about, the amount of research grants that they have, the amount of money they spend on research is just cannot be compared to what we do in India, because it's very minuscule in our country, right? So the top 3 reasons why you should be going for an MBA, why you should be going for an MS, Masters, is the choice of courses, your highly ranked universities, and your cutting edge research. Then of course the 4th point becomes, in fact the 4th and the 5th points are both related. You become a global citizen. Now what is the meaning of a global citizen? Remember guys, those of you who have done your bachelor's, that is your 3 years or 4 years graduation from the same place where you have grown and brought up, your exposure to outside world is limited. You have a similar set of people whom you have studied with and the same kind of people who are also teaching you, right? So that way your exposure is limited. When you go abroad to destinations like, let's say, Germany, United Kingdom, United States, Australia, you are going to interact with people of different ethnicities, different cultures, and also different countries, of course. You have Chinese, you have Indians, of course, we are there everywhere. Then you have Africans, you have people, Russians, in fact, a very, very well educated as well as very strong competitors, the Russians. Then you have the Europeans. The kind of universities that I'm going to discuss about today, or at least the destinations that I'm going to talk about today, you will be looking at a conglomeration of all these different types of people in a single place. You would get to experience the world in the 2 years of your post-graduation, okay, of masters. The thing which you should have got by now is what you'll be getting there by becoming global citizen, because of which you will be learning how to deal with people of different mindsets. Not everybody agrees to whatever you have to say. So how do you deal with such kind of a conflict? How do you resolve when there is a conflict of interest, and so on and so forth. So that is where your personality will develop. Alright, so that's one of the most important reasons why your personality development also happens. Right. Then the next, of course, the most important, the last part, in fact, that's what is enticing to all of you, is your home to the best companies, the MNCs that you so covet. You know, the top companies that you're talking about, probably a Google, a Facebook, a Microsoft, probably an Oracle. Any of these companies that you are your dream companies, they are not based out of India. They are based elsewhere. The pay structure that they pay to a student who comes out of a university abroad is going to be very different from a student who is going to be graduating from an Indian university. I'll discuss a little bit about pay packages later, but the thing you need to understand is when they hire you from a global university, their packages are going to be in line with the global standards. And the global standards are 2 times or 3 times easily, not even 2, thrice easily, more than what we get offered over here in India. Right? Probably a top tech guy in India would be getting paid on an average about 10-11 lakhs from the IITs. Whereas there, after a master's, even after MTech, you'll probably be getting about 13-14 lakhs. But over there, you'll be talking about a $40,000 to $50,000 or a $45,000 per annum, which translates to about 30 lakhs. So the difference is huge between getting placed by an Indian college or from an Indian college versus getting placed abroad. Right? So these are some of the most important reasons why a student should be going abroad. Continuing forward. Of course, the next part is again, in fact, few more points which I wanted to talk about. Right, so we have a vast array of master's courses I already mentioned. In fact, I will be taking you through country-wise. For example, what are the top courses in a country like Germany, in a country or a continent, now whichever you call it, called Australia or a UK or in Italy. I will be discussing that. Then, of course, the second part is also about an exposure to non-technical courses. Please remember, guys, this is almost always missing in our country. Let me tell you a couple of courses which are very, very funny. So why are these courses there? These courses are existing simply because they do not want students to completely be a mug-up kind of a person. You need to have some kind of a fun and also learning in your life. So have you heard of Game of Thrones? I'm sure all of you would have heard of Game of Thrones. Did you know that one of the universities in US offers a non-technical course for an MS student on Game of Thrones? Imagine that. So these are the kind of really wacky courses that we are talking about, which is possible in a foreign university, not in India. Another course that I have come across, really funny course, about how to be a wizard. You know, it's a very short course, fun course. It does not take up or make you pressurized to read for exams kind of a thing. That is the kind of a freedom that you have, and I'm talking about flexibility. You don't have to always read the kind of masters that you want to get, so you don't have to always stick to the theory part of what you want to become. That is always going to be there, but apart from that, the amount of fun and enjoyment abroad is going to be a lot more different from what we can get over in the Indian universities. Okay, so you have a very flexible curriculum and environment. Let's say, for example, one of you goes there, falls sick, and you cannot take an exam. They do not say that you have failed or anything like that, like what we have in our Indian universities. They have a very flexible system where they will be giving you a chance to cover up the credits in the next semester. Okay, so and this will not be an glaring error like a red mark on your report card at the end of the day, right? So their curriculum is flexible. Their environment, the way in which they treat students is a lot more encouraging. And of course, the second point over here which I am talking about is 2 intakes. Now, what is the meaning of 2 intakes? Typically, the colleges in India, they have only 1 intake, which is usually in the June-July period. So that is also there in the universities abroad. June, July, August. They call it as a fall intake. So most of the students will be taken in fall. However, for people, for some reason, if they could not get into the fall intake, you have an opportunity of something called as a spring intake too, which happens in the month of January, February, March. It's a spring intake. So let's say that this year, for whatever reasons, you missed getting into any of these universities. In India, you will lose the whole 12 months. Over there, you will have a second opportunity that in the month, so let's say you could not get in August, that's okay, you will have an opportunity in January to apply again. Right, so this is one of the main reasons why you can, so that's 6 months which are now getting saved, otherwise in India, you will be losing them out. And the last important part which all of you would be appreciating is a salary package. The average salary package of a master's degree from a master's in technology, this specifically technology, from a university abroad, typically I'm talking about Germans or you're talking about US, Canada, any of these universities, it's going to be about 35,000 to 40,000 dollars, US dollars per annum. Alright, so that's almost 26 lakhs per annum. Guys, even the IIM Ahmedabad, the biggest business school in the country, does not get salaries like this as an average. Okay, I'm talking about technology, that is your MS in technology, any of your engineering streams, getting paid higher than an MBA from these universities, Indian MBA. Okay, so obviously when you look at these figures, you will need to understand that the return on investment, while it is costly to go abroad, it is definitely worth it to go abroad. Okay, let's move forward now. Right, so why do people write GRE then per se? Now that you understood that you should be going abroad, or going abroad is not a bad idea for doing your masters, we will now shift our focus to an exam called GRE. Okay, what is it for? Basically, earlier people used to think that GRE is mostly for masters in technology or any other such kind of a master's degree, which is mostly into engineering fields, right? However, over the last few years, GRE has grown its presence not just into getting accepted for engineering degrees, but it has also, as you can see, almost all the business schools also nowadays are accepting GRE. So not just for engineering top colleges, of course engineering top colleges you want to get into masters in let's say automobile engineering or electrical, computer science, any of these, GRE is the exam for you to write. Apart from that, even students who want to go for an MBA now, they can take GRE instead of GMAT. Okay, now we will discuss later in a different video who should write GRE and who should write GMAT for MBA, but that's not the discussion here. Today we are going to restrict ourselves to GRE exam and for people who are going abroad for their post-graduation, not necessarily for MBA but also for all technical courses. Okay, but the point which I am trying to make here is GRE exam is considered by almost all top business schools now. Okay, instead of GMAT you can write GRE, and that's probably an advantage for students who are better prepared for GRE format than GMAT format. Okay, so let's go forward. So what is the application criteria? First, to write a GRE exam, what is the application criteria? There are few points which I want to make. The first point being, a student should have 16 years of education. Okay, application to many of these foreign universities, because the GRE is going to cater to the foreign universities, they have a requirement of 16 years of education. Why 16, or what is the 16? Anyway, class 1 to class 12 years are over. After that, the problem starts in India, where you have a 4-year course or a 3-year course. A 4-year course typically is a bachelor's of engineering, BE or BTech. A 3 years is your BBA, BCom, any of these graduation courses. Now, for a BTech or a BE kind of a student of 4 years, there is no problem. So 12 years you have studied till 12th class and 4 years of engineering, so 16 years are completed. However, if you are in your final years of Bachelor's of Commerce or BBA, that is Business Management, or any of these, the 3-year graduation courses, then you need 1 more year of work experience then after that. Okay, it becomes 12 plus 3 only. So you will need 1 more year. Okay, and the second important thing is to take the exam called GRE. The only thing they will check apart from the GRE booking confirmation paper is your valid passport. Valid passport means the passport should have at least 6 more months of validity. At least 6 more months of validity. Okay, so there is a valid passport that you need to have. So people without passports, you can book your GRE, but you cannot write your GRE, because in the exam center you will be asked for a passport, and if you cannot produce a passport, you will not be allowed. So strong suggestion, do not book your GRE exam when you are applying for passport, because the passport can get delayed, and if the passport is delayed, your exam cannot be written. And when you don't write an exam, you have to postpone the exam, and postponing the exam is costly. It's about 3,000 rupees. 3,000 rupees just to postpone the exam. So my suggestion always is get the passport in your hand, and for those of you who already have a passport, check the validity, how many years is left out. I would suggest at least keep 2 more years as your validity of the passport, and go ahead and book your GRE. Okay. Then of course the next thing which you need to know for writing the exam is list of universities. Now what is this list of universities? Why should you have a list of universities before GRE? Now what happens to GRE, what happens to universities abroad is you have to apply to each of the universities individually. Like in India, even today in India, if you want to apply to colleges, you have to go to each college separately and apply, unless they are the IITs. For that, that's a different issue. You don't have to apply for all of them separately. You can just fill the IIT JEE form and apply to all of them through the form. But otherwise, non-IITs, you'll have to go and apply to each one of them individually. And please remember, the forms cost you something which is not as cheap as in India. Abroad, while they say $50 is the application form, $50 is almost 3,000 rupees or more than 3,000 rupees. So the thing is, if you don't have a list of colleges that you want to go to readily in hand, you will miss out something that GRE offers. Now what is it that GRE offers? In the exam fee that you pay to GRE, included is 4 free universities to which GRE will send you your scores. So it's like applying to the universities through GRE. If you don't do this, you will be missing out. So if let's say you have a total of 10 universities or 8 universities that you want to apply to, 4 of them can be done through GRE itself. The other 4 you have to pay separately again. But the 4 through GRE, you don't have to pay any extra payment, because GRE has a tie-up with these universities, almost all the universities, and it is included in the fee of GRE. That is the reason why we mentioned that selecting a list of universities is important for you, even at the time of booking your GRE slot. And even, in fact, at least if not booking, while writing, you should have the GRE, the list of universities ready. Okay? And of course, there will be deadlines, registration for the test. So applying to a college cannot be done without your original scorecard. So when you're looking at applying to a college, there will be their own deadlines. You have to follow their deadlines. There will be a list of questions they will ask. You are supposed to answer those questions. So guys, one thing which you need to understand is applying to foreign universities is not an easy task. There will be a lot of things that they will check. It is not in India and abroad. If you compare the university's application process, is a lot of difference. In India, you just look at your scores, and if you get a good score, that's it. Nobody bothers about anything else. The entrance test scores. In the colleges abroad, it is not like that. They will not just look at your GRE score. They will also look at your scores that of your complete 10th, 12th, in fact your bachelor's, what did you score? That is only a small part of it. Apart from that, they will see, have you done any extracurricular achievement? Have you got any extracurricular achievements? Have you done any social work? Have you presented any paper, done any research? Okay, have you worked anywhere? Your work experience, they'll consider a lot of these things. And each one of them is equally important. Please do not be under the impression that a good GRE score is sufficient. What is important for the college abroad is something called as a profile. And building a profile is easily a one-year task. We will, as CL, we will be conducting further seminars or webinars for that matter, where we talk about how to build a good profile. But please do understand that building a profile is not as easy as preparing for GRE. GRE typically you can prepare within about 3 to 4 months dedicatedly. But building a profile will take easily about a year. Especially if you are trying to get into the top 10 or 15 universities in a particular country, then your profile has to be absolutely brilliant. Alright? Please remember, you are competing against the top minds in the world. I told you, you have the Chinese, you have the Russians, you have the Europeans, you have the Africans, of course you have our Southeast Asians. All of us are trying to get into those universities, the top universities, right? So your profile has to be that much more solid. Okay, so these are the things which you have to keep in mind when you are trying to apply to a college abroad. Going forward, so what are the documents that are required for you to apply to a university? So let's look at, so this is, so earlier I spoke about what are the things you should keep in mind. Now what is actually required? What it requires is your academic scores. Of course, original transcripts are required. There is something called as a statement of purpose. Usually we would not come across this in our life. What is this called statement of purpose? Statement of purpose means the reason why you want to do what you're trying to do, which is the next 2 years of your post-graduation. It should talk about your story of why you want to go ahead, pursue 2 more years for higher education. What is your goal in life? Where do you see yourself in the future? Why are you looking at this particular university that you're applying to? All of this should be written in a nice essay kind of a format and submitted. That's called a statement of purpose. Then you have letter of recommendation. Usually in India we don't have this concept. Recommendation letter, only thing we know is government jobs, right? You know, you get a minister's recommendation or some babu's recommendation. That is what we have heard of. In US, letter of recommendation is very highly regarded. It has to be given by your professors, not by a politician. Either your professors or your manager if you are working. Typically, these are the people who would have known you. The professors because they would have taught you, and your manager because you are currently working under the person. They value this a lot more. You take it even from anybody else, your CM or even Mr. Modi, our PM, it doesn't really matter to them because the person would not have known you personally, right? So what matters to them is, can you give me a letter of recommendation from the people who matter to the institute? Then of course your resume has to be there, and of course the financial documents. Now what are these financial documents? There are certain requirements which they will specify. You need to have a certain amount of bank balance because you have to tell them that you have the financial capability to pay for your fees, right? So these are certain things that they will check, and or rather you have to give them a proof, affidavits. What are these affidavits? Bank affidavits. So a bank statement saying that this person has so and so amount of money in the account, it has been so for so many days, and it's here. So basically a proof that you have the money to take care of yourself and you will not become a burden to the country after going there. Alright, so these are few of the things which are required for you. Anyway, if any of you join Career Launcher, our consultancy team will ensure that we will take care of these things for you. Going forward, next we will try to understand what is the format of the GRE exam. Okay, so GRE, as you can see here, is a 4.5-hour exam. Okay, it has a maximum score. It has a maximum score of 130 to 170. So even if you go and don't do anything, you'll get 130 marks. Or in each of the sections, QA and VA, there are 2 sections that you're going to have: quantitative ability and verbal ability. So the way in which the exam will be given is, there will be actually 4 sections. 2 of them will be quant, 2 of them will be verbal. So basically what will happen is, when the exam starts, you will be getting the first section of 20 questions. It can be either English or maths, doesn't matter. 20 questions. Then once this time is over, you will be having the next section of 20 questions on your verbal. Once that changes again, you will be having another 20 questions of maths and verbal. So like this, there will be 4 such sections in which you will be tested. After getting all of these corrected, basically it's a computer based exam. So as soon as you submit, the answers correct or wrong will be there. You will be given a score. The score will be given for overall quant performance and overall verbal performance. So each quant and verbal will be from 130 to 170, 130 to 170, which means the total minimum you will get is 260 and the highest you can get is 370. Because quant also is 130 to 170 range, verbal overall is also 130 to 170 range. So overall will be 260 minimum. If you don't do anything also, you'll get 260 marks, which means it's equal to 0. And the highest you can get is 340. Right? Guys, believe me, getting 310, 315 is very, very easy. Up to 320 in GMAT is not difficult. The difficulty starts from 320 onwards. The difficulty starts from 320 onwards. If anybody can get 325 plus, it's really, really good. Somebody who gets 330 plus, excellent score. It's like getting into the IITs. IITs, you know, getting a 1000th rank or under 1000 in an IIT. Getting a 330 plus is like that. Okay. So just for your understanding. Apart from the multiple choice questions, so in fact you will be having your GRE quant and verbal. Apart from that, you will have a section called analytical writing assessment. Now this is where you have to write an essay. So analytical writing assessment is a very, very unique area which we never tried out in India. We only look at either English and maths, or typically only maths. But over there they look at English, maths, not just your multiple choice questions, but also what they look at is a ability to write critically. So what usually happens is, they will give you a small story about probably a social event or probably a social issue, and they will ask you specifically to either write an answer supporting it or write an answer against it. They will ask you what to do. You have to do that only. You getting it? So you have to write an essay on that particular issue. They will mention it in a paragraph. What is the issue that you're talking about? They'll give you information, and based on the information given to you, they will ask you to write an argument for it or argument against it. Okay? Clear? Let's move forward. So this is what you'll be having. In fact, I've given a section-wise breakup over here. So you can see that there is analytical writing. It's a 30 minutes task, and in 30 minutes you will be asked to write, analyze an issue, write about the issue. Then verbal reasoning. There will be 2 sections in verbal. Each section is 30 minutes. 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 sections, and each section of verbal is 20 questions. Okay? Each section of verbal is 20 questions. So totally from English you'll be getting 40 questions. But there is a small catch. What is the catch? The first 20 questions will be given to you in a lot. These are relatively going to be easy for you. Depending upon how good you attempt the first 20 questions of English, you will be given the second 20 questions of English. This is called adaptive testing. In our engineering colleges, we simply follow a paper pen based, or even if it's a computer based, what happens is you will be getting all the questions at once. GRE is not like that. GRE wants to test out how good you are. So first 20 questions will be to test your goodness or how well prepared you are. Based on that, let's say you do not make any mistakes. You get all the questions or almost out of 20, 19 questions correct, which means your second section will become difficult. Don't worry about it. Getting a difficult second section is good for you. Why? Because it means the computer has already understood that, look, this student is good. So he will be given a minimum marks of so and so. It will calculate accordingly. You don't have to worry. But second section will become difficult. Even in the difficult section, if you get, let's say out of 20, you get about 16 or so, it will say, don't worry boss, you made 4 mistakes, but the section is really difficult. So I will appreciate you. Don't worry about it. So the computer does its own calculations and finally gives you a score out of 170. That's for English. Similarly, for maths, there will be 20 plus 20, 2 sections, 20 questions each. But in maths, each 20 section is going to be for 35 minutes. So English is 1 hour overall and maths is 1 hour 10 minutes, 35 minutes per section. In maths also there will be 20 questions. As I said earlier, the maths also totally will be 40. The first section 20 will be mixed of easy, moderate and probably 1 or 2 difficult, basically to see how well prepared you are. And your second section, based on the first section's preparation, the second section difficulty level will be decided. And based on the second section's difficulty level, finally you'll be getting your score out of 170. Okay, so I hope this part is clear. There is a verbal, 2 verbals actually, 30 minutes each, and 2 quants, 35 minutes each. Now, an interesting area. There is something called as unscored section. You can see here. Now, what is this unscored section? It's very interesting. Look, who decides whether a question is easy or difficult? What normally you think is the examiner will decide. No, GRE says, look, an examiner is always biased. Why? Because he's been sitting the exam for years. So he might feel something is easy or something is difficult, which is not actually true according to the students. So what GRE does is, I will not decide what is easy or difficult. I will give questions, extra questions to students to decide the difficulty level. That is what is called as the unscored section. So in this unscored section, you will be having, it can be only one section. It can be either English or it can be quant. Does not mean that everybody is going to get only English or everybody is going to get only quant. It will depend randomly. But each person will be getting the 5th section also, called English or quant. It will be exactly the same as earlier. 20 questions. If it is English, it is 30 minutes. 20 questions. If it is maths, it is going to be 35 minutes. And these are going to be new questions that they have formed. And based on, let's say they give these questions to, let's say about 20,000 people. Each of the 20,000 people will attempt these questions. There will be corrects, there will be wrongs. Based on the data, they will decide which of these are easy, which of these are difficult, which of these are very difficult. So there are, in GRE, there are 5 levels of difficulty. So based on the data only, it's very statistically driven. Okay, GRE does not do things randomly. They are very conscious about statistics. They make sure that whatever decisions they are doing, for example, to call a certain question as difficult, they would have seen that a lot of students are either not attempting it or attempting it and getting it wrong. So only then they will classify something as difficult. Again, depending upon how many people, what percentage of them are getting it right, what percentage of them are attempting it, they will classify it as easy, very easy, medium, difficult, devilish. Okay, devilish is the extreme difficulty level. So these are the 5 difficulty levels that they will classify the question into. Now, if you ask me, how will you or should you be serious about this uncensored section? Actually, the way it will come is, you will never know which section is uncensored. While I mentioned there will be 2 verbal and 2 quant and 1 unscored section. So basically there are 5 sections overall. But you will never know which of the section is not going to be scored. Sometimes the first section of your English is going to be not scored. Sometimes the second section of English will be not scored. Sometimes the third section of your English will be not scored if there are 3 English sections. Or if it is maths also, it's the same. So you will never know as a student which is to be taken lighter, which is to be taken seriously. Hence, you will be serious in all the questions. That is what they want. Because if you know that something is unscored, you will not pay attention to it. Which means the data that you are going to get is going to be wrong. So to make sure that you will be serious, they will not tell you which of this is going to be unscored section at all. Okay, let's move forward. So validity of the test score, some few points that I want to talk about. Validity for GRE and GMAT is 5 years, meaning if you take your GRE or GMAT exam today, you can apply to the colleges for the next 5 years. So even in 2020 or 21, you can apply to the university with the same GRE score that you got today. Whereas exams like TOEFL and IELTS, they will have a validity of 2 years only. So if you take the exam today, in 2021, you cannot apply because the validity of TOEFL and IELTS is only 2 years. Okay? And registration of the tests, basically who are the people who are conducting the tests? GRE and TOEFL is conducted by ETS from US. It's an organization which is conducting GRE. In India, it is called Prometric. But this is of not too much of use to you, it's just an information. And IELTS is conducted through the British Council. Okay? And there's a body called IDP in Australia. But as I said, this is not something that you need to really worry about, but the validity of the test is something which is important to you, right? Going forward. Now, this I already mentioned, the unscored section can be VA or QR. That is verbal reasoning, verbal ability or quantitative reasoning. There is no guarantee which one you're going to get. Also, it does not mean that the last section is always going to be unscored. It could be the first section, second section, third section, anything. Okay? Now, so I have spoken about all of this. Let me, by the way, the last point here, if you notice, there will be a 10-minute break after the third section, whatever section it is. So after you spend the first, after analytical writing ability, which is your essay, you'll be having 3 sections. After a third section, you'll be given a 10-minute break, which is not usual in Indian exams. You start once, you will finish everything. Over there, you can take a break, okay? And after the third section, you will start the fourth section. Between fourth and fifth, you will be given an option of taking a 1-minute break, okay? So, a lot of students carry tiffins, lunch boxes and all, because please remember, it's a 4.5-hour exam. If you're booking a slot at, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning, it's going to continue till 2 o'clock. You're going to feel hungry. So, a lot of students do this. They take a tiffin box wherein they'll have their very quick lunch in the 10 minutes break, so that your hunger does not stop you from answering the questions. All right. Now let's move on to take a look at the entry systems in the universities. As I said, there are 2 major entry points: fall and winter, fall and spring. But these are the 2 most. I discussed this earlier also. But apart from this, there are other inputs also in some universities. There is fall, which is the most important, August and September. That's where maximum universities are open. They will have maximum intake. The second most important is spring semester, not winter, it is spring. Okay, January, February is the second biggest. Most of the colleges will be having but lesser number of seats. Then winter and summer semesters, guys, not really common. They do exist, and in few universities, and that too if the seats are not filled. For example, if you notice, some universities or none of the top universities will have this. Please remember, the top university seats will always be filled. Why will they have a November, December? Because in August, September, if some university seats are remaining, they will open in November, December. Typically not for the top universities. Similarly, summer semester, April, May. Why will they have April, May? If your Jan, Feb is unfilled, they will have an April, May semester. Okay, so they will start again in April, May. They will fill up the seats. Okay. So these are the basic 4 semester intakes, the biggest being fall and the second biggest being spring semester. Okay. Then of course, what is rolling admissions? Rolling admissions is basically, let's say that you are a decent candidate, they like you, but already their seats are filled. By the way, guys, these guys go with first come first serve basis. They will not say that, okay, all of you apply and then I will start looking at it. So the faster you apply, the better the chances are for you to get accepted, because let's say they have a seats of 200 and they start filling up the seats. It's like movie tickets. If they feel that you are good, see, please remember, they don't, like in India, they will not give a merit list. They will not say, okay, you are rank 1, you are rank 2. No. The way they look at it is a student good enough for my institute or not? Individually, if you are good, if you are meeting their expectations, that's it, you'll get a seat. You don't have to wait for everybody to apply. Now the advantage of that is, those of you who are going ahead, if you are just meeting the requirement, you will anyway get in, and it's a confirmed seat. For those of you who are going late, the disadvantage is, let's say you are good, you are meeting the expectations, but the seats are already filled. They will now cannot give you an admission right now. So they'll put you under something called as a rolling admission. Rolling admission is, if you applied for fall, they will say, look, hold on till next semester for me. Whenever I'm opening the next semester, I'll give you a seat if you want to hold on. But it is confirmed now. Okay, it's just that right now I cannot accommodate to you. Right? So that's the basic idea of rolling admissions. Okay, because they don't want to lose good students. So if a good student comes, they will not say go away. They will say, okay, look, I cannot help you right now. Please wait for another 5 months or 6 months. There you'll get your seat because the process is already completed. You are good for us. So that's called as rolling admissions. Alright. Next, I want to spend some time in trying to understand the top destinations and why do people go to, or what are the unique reasons why people go to these top countries. Now, most of the Indians, the top 5 countries that they go to, by the way, when I say top, these are 5 countries, they are not in any particular order: Germany, US, Canada, Australia and UK. Now, let's look at each country and see the 1 or 2 most important reasons why people go there for the country. Germany, very low cost. It's very, very low. In fact, the cost you're going to incur in Germany is comparable to the cost that you're going to incur in India. Think of it. 8 lakhs, 7 lakhs your master's degree in Germany. This includes their stay, food also. But please remember, you will have to probably work part-time so your tuition fee will be taken care of, but probably you will be staying in a shared apartment. Probably if you want to have a good lifestyle, you'll have to work extra there. And commonly, it is a common practice for students, Indian students, to go abroad and take part-time jobs. Okay, but having said that, this is one of the famous destinations for education, which is not costly. Okay. Right. Next reason for Germany: cutting edge research in technology fields, especially in the automobile sector, guys. The amount of research, you have almost all the top brands present in your Germany. Germany is known for manufacturing, right? So you have some of the top-notch automobile companies there. And in fact, these companies have a close research tie-ups with the institutes. Right, so they take the institute students taken for the research, they associate themselves actively with the institutes. So the research in Germany is of very high quality and actually in line with what is required for the industry. And of course, the scholarships are also relatively easier for Indians to get in Germany. Next, US, I don't have to talk about it. Top class education in terms of rankings. Almost all the top rankings in the top 10 ranks of all the engineering based courses are going to be in US. You have your MIT, you have your University of Pasadena. I mean, you talk about it, you have it. Okay, you have your Illinois, Stanford, California State University. I mean, you have a list of universities in the top 10 in the world, so you don't have to worry about it. And of course, because of which they get around the world recognition. Every nook and corner of the world knows where you have done your graduation from, that is post-graduation from. So that is not a problem at all. And scholarship for Indian students again is available. There are a lot of bodies in India per se who have established for scholarship of Indian students. Okay. Canada is again a very famous destination. One of the most important reasons why people go to Canada is because it's a very safe country. You don't hear of too many crimes in Canada, and already there is a huge presence of Indians in Canada, Indian students in Canada. Okay, and the second important reason, see, Germany, there is a small problem. They typically speak only German. Language could be a problem. They always recommend, in fact, German universities recommend that Monique, it's a good question you're asking. Is GRE required in Germany? To some of the top universities, yes. There are always universities, by the way guys, this is not just for Germany. Please remember, always universities do exist which do not ask for your GRE score. But think about it. Why is anybody not asking for an entrance exam? Even in India, if somebody is not taking your entrance exam and just say, come on to my university, why do they do that? Think about it. It's a question for yourself. So please don't say that I'm going into a college abroad which is not having an entrance exam. The chances are very, very high that the reason why the college is doing it is because they don't get students. So if they're not getting students, they don't want to have another entry barrier such as a GRE exam. So they take it out and say, please come to us, we will not consider. But there are few exceptional really good colleges also which do not want GRE. But there they will only look at your profile. Then your profile has to be stellar. Okay, you can't just say that I play football in my college and that is my profile. You have to have probably arts in your profile, probably if you are into sports, you have to be at a state level or a national level player, probably a couple of research papers in your area of interest. You're talking about a student, because you are giving away your GRE importance, then those top colleges which take without GRE look at absolutely good profiles. Anyway, continuing, we are in Canada. Canada, one of the advantages is everybody speaks English. That's one of the reasons why if you cannot get into the top US universities, students end up in Canada, because there are some good universities in Canada also. The cost is same as the US, and safe destination and English speaking populace. Germany people usually sometimes they think twice because you have to learn German and at least 3 levels of German. There is a A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2 and D1, D2. So A1, A2 and B1, till B1 at least you need to have before you go into any of the German college. They insist on that. Even if it is a full English course, they insist on you having a German requirement, because otherwise you will not get a visa at all. If you don't have a B1, you will not get a German visa. So university will say you come, but the visa people will say please go. So you'll get stuck, right? And C1, C2 and all will not be required unless you're going for a course in German, which is almost impossible for you to excel, right? Then of course Australia, again I would say it's a safe destination, despite the news you would have heard a year back that Indian students are getting attacked. Please remember guys, the total number of things or the news that you would have heard of is probably about 4 or 5 instances. Think of how many students are getting hurt in India on a daily basis. These are 5 or 6 cases throughout Australia across the year. Compare that with what is happening in India. You will realize that it's only the media hype. Australia is again a safe destination for students to get into. Okay, and the other big reason why people go to Australia is it has the highest percentage of international students. What is international student? Anybody who's a non-Australian studying there will be called as an international student. And of all the countries, Australia has the highest percentage of international students, which means you will get exposed to almost all types of people in Australia. So your diversity, which you're talking about, and your personality growth in an Australian institute is going to be very, very high compared to any other institutes out there. And legally in Australia, you can work up to 20 hours a week while studying, legally also. Okay, so you will be which means you will be covered under the minimum wage act for them. So it's about, I think, $8 or so. So if you work for full 20 hours a week, you'll be getting paid about $160 Australian dollars. That's a decent earnings for you guys. And of course, UK, once again, known for top universities. In fact, the Cambridge, the Oxford, in fact, the names you're talking about, Nottingham, in fact, these are the universities which are there since centuries, not just decades. Okay, and they have research in a lot of areas. For example, Germany, I said research in technology, but technology that too automobile. In UK, they do research in all areas. They have biotechnology, they have nanotechnology, they are doing research in finance, they are doing research in automobiles. This is one country which is getting into research in all the areas. Of course, US also is another country. I am not comparing US and UK, but I am saying UK is one of the features why people go to is because of this, right? Let's now spend a few minutes. We are almost closing end of the session. Let's spend the next few minutes in trying to understand what are the top courses which people go to for each of the countries. Let's begin by courses in German. Guys, am I audible? Guys, am I audible? Can you please very quickly? Alright. So Germany, what do people go to? Apart from the automobile and automotive industries, there is design and production, then computer science engineering and electrical engineering. These are the top university courses that people go to for Germany. And of course, there is a MIM course called International Business Management. Basically, these are the MIM courses, that is Masters in Management. So people without work experience after their bachelor's can straight away go and do their masters. So these are the main reasons why people go to Germany, right? Let's look at US. Of course, US, there's no such thing as a particularly good course, or all courses are good, because you have the top universities there. So as you can see, almost all engineering courses are good in US. Apart from that, you have your pharmacy and dental care, which is again very well regarded in US. Information management is a good course. Aerospace engineering, cutting edge technology in aerospace engineering in US. Of course, you have some really good research tie-ups with organizations like NASA and some of the institutes. So you have really good research in aerospace engineering too. And of course, MBA. All the big business schools are present over in US. Okay, right? Let's move on to Canada and see what are the top courses why people go to for Canada. So one of the most important reasons why people go to Canada is business masters, people who want to get into business. Apart from that, from the technology field, you have environmental sciences. There's a lot of research getting done on environmental sciences in Canada. Social sciences, basically your humanities, people who are not from the technology background but who want to do a post graduation in social sciences, basically your study of your political science courses or any such kind of courses. Basically, people go to Canada. It's a good destination. And of course, there are a few engineering streams which are anyway there, but the highlights for Canada would be environment related technology courses, business courses, and of course non-technology social sciences courses, right? Australia, let's take a look at Australia. What is the main reason why people go to Australia? The first reason for Australia would be your law. Australia is known for law. And again, this, a very big reason why people go to Australia is for IT. And of course, like Canada, Australia also has environment-based sciences and of course business masters. Australia also has some really good universities where business masters, or basically your business courses, are available and they are really well regarded. Okay, but law is something which is very good in Australia. Then let's look at UK. Once again, in UK, law is one of the very good courses that I mentioned. In fact, you will in the list. In fact, earlier also I mentioned that biotechnology, nanotechnology, these are the areas that anyway they're in. UK also excels in finance related courses. You have London Stock Exchange, one of the biggest stock exchanges in the world, and you have almost all the financial big guys sitting there in London. It's obvious that you will have really good courses in finance over there for MBA. Apart from that, technology wise, if you look at it, biotechnology and nanotechnology are two really cutting edge technology sources or fields which London is far ahead in, basically UK. And of course, law is something very good in UK. Getting into the UK law universities is not easy at all. It's like getting into another IIT, and not just any IIT, getting into an IIT Mumbai or an IIT Delhi or an IIT Kanpur, Kharagpur, the top 4 or 5. Okay, that's how difficult it is getting into the UK law universities. Right, so we are now at the end of the session. I would like to speak a little bit about what we do as Career Launcher for our students. We have a GRE course, full classroom course, which is going to have a 34 class module. That's 2 hours per class, making it a total of 68 hours. So you're going to get a solid 68 hours classroom training with us. We will be providing you 4 books in total, 3 books of which are going to be from CL, and 1 book is going to be the official guide of GRE. So that you need to know what are the past original questions will be there in your GRE, and you'll also have 4 practice books, 3 practice books that we give. Put together 4 books you'll be getting for practice. You'll be having on our SIS portal as a student, you will be given 1200 plus questions from various topics. So let's talk about the English. You have in English there are 3 areas. In fact, guys, I missed this part. Let me just take you through what are the things which are going to be there in English and quant. Okay, let me just take you back to the slide. Right. So if in verbal reasoning, if you notice, there is TCQ, SEQ and RC. RC is reading comprehension. All of you know what is this. Reading comprehension is a passage given to you with 2 or 3 questions following the passage. You are supposed to read the passage and answer the questions. Sentence equivalence is something new to you guys. Sentence equivalence questions are those in English where there will be a word which is going to be underlined. You have to replace the underlined word with one of the options wherein the sentence will become meaningful. Okay, so if I say the session has been a really good one today, I am feeling exhilarated after the session. Exhilarated is an underlined word there, and they will give you 6 choices. 5 choices. You have to pick from one of the 5 choices, or as what could be the replacement of the word. And to cap it up, it is not just one choice will be correct. There can be more than one choice. For example, exhilarated options. It's not a meaning. Please remember. Please keep in mind. It's not synonyms. It is not meanings. They will just say which word is suitable in the sentence. So after the session, I am feeling really excited. Exhilarated can be replaced with excited. They are not necessarily the same. For example, I can also have a word which is not directly linked with exhilarated, annoyed. But context of the sentence says the session was good, so you will not be annoyed. So annoyed is not correct. Probably I can have really anxious. Could be correct depending upon the sentence that is being given to you. So the basic idea there is what are all the words that can be a possible replacement there without where the sentence is still meaningful to you. Okay, so that's the kind of things which is called as sentence equivalence. Then the last part of English which comes to you is text completion. Text completion is a fill in the blank. So they'll give you a nice sentence with 1 blank or 2 blanks or 3 blanks. This is like what you used to do in a school. You have to identify what are the best words that go there, which means you have to know the meaning of the words. Alright, so these are 3 types of questions that come in verbal. In quant also there are 3 types of questions. Okay, one is called as VC. VC is value comparison. What is the value comparison type of a question? They